Polish art of egg ornamentation has many, many different forms of expression and styles. And here we welcome today one of the best local experts on the paper cutout or wycinanki style of Polish egg decoration. Basia, you've got it in your heart, so help us understand it.
Well, I looked at these and I just fell in love with the colors. I looked closer and I thought, these are just made out of paper. And they have the colors which drew me in. And this style is from central Poland, which is a little bit west of Warsaw in a region called Łowicz. That's where these beautiful colors come from. And this was popular about in the mid-1800s for about 60 years, but it's continued now by other artists in Poland. I want to show you another one that I've made. You notice that there are flowers and birds. So they also are, they can be made on eggs. So this is a type of egg that is an Easter decoration. And I put a little ribbon on it for hanging this.
One of the interesting things recently, you talk about the wycinanka has really become almost kind of a national symbol in Poland. It appears on a lot of advertisement and international brochures and everything, so it's good that we have you here as an expert for this with us.
Okay, to start off with, you'd have to find a nice egg that's even, that doesn't have little bumps on it. And I found out that the duck eggs have thicker eggshells and they're a little bit larger, and that's nice to work on. So to get the insides out, what I do is find the bottom center of the egg. So I take a pencil and I guess, and I make a little X. And that looks about right. So with a pin, I can start very, very gently poking in the center of that, trying not to break the eggshell.
You have to do it slowly so you don't push it in and crack it.
Like I say, the duck eggs have a slightly thicker eggshell, so it is a little bit sturdier. There's several methods of doing this. This is the one that I find easiest.
It's very similar to the final stage of the pisanki process, in other words, the batik egg, or to blow out any particular egg.
Okay, I'm enlarging this hole slightly, and then I, by hand, take a drill bit and very carefully, always spinning in the same direction, I'm enlarging this hole.
That's really neat. I've never seen a manual drill like that. With the pisanki, I use a electric one, like a Dremel tool. Really neat.
I'm doing this because that's what I have.
Well, you also don't need the electricity.
That's right. When the electricity goes out,
you still can blow your eggs out, correct?
Now, I could make a hole at the other end. That would be the traditional way of blowing out the egg. I would blow things and it would come out the bottom part. But I have something that is really nice, and it's a one-hole egg blower. I got this at the Broadway Market. That's the big secret. And I can put this here and blow out. Now, if you're having difficulty getting that out, that means maybe the hole was still a little bit small. Okay, when I'm finished doing this, let's say I'm done. What you now have is an egg that has just one hole. You want to make sure that the insides are rinsed very, very well. So under the faucet of the sink, there's a very small stream of water. Shake that and let this drip out by shaking it, and please rinse out a few times and let this egg dry for maybe a week or 2 or 3 to make sure that even if there's a little bit of moisture inside the egg, that it does dry very well.
That's really important too, because you might think the egg is empty, but there could be just a little bit of moisture which drips and then could affect your design later.
Exactly. I'm working with paper, so everything has to be dry. So this is what I have, and where'd you get your ideas from? Well, it could be a postcard, it could be a book, it could be something from the internet. It could be designs that I showed you at the before, which are from the regular size paper cuts. So I like to put a face cloth or something on the table to help make sure that the egg doesn't roll off the table. I want to start off by taking a strip of paper and making a design on it. And to do that, there are two ways to do it that I can think of to show you. Using a mat board, you can very carefully use an X-Acto knife or a utility knife, and lining things up, cut a very, very precise straight edge. If you just have a ruler, you don't have a mat board, don't have an X-Acto knife, just measure very carefully from a scrap of paper the width that you would like to use. And then you would just cut along here with scissors. Now, the thing about cutting with scissors, you want to do all of your cutting here as close to the handle as possible. You're not using the tips. You're not going to get a straight, even line by doing this. Open scissors wide and do a nice long cut along this line. Open scissors wide again and cut along that line.
When you open them wide, you pull the paper back to the
Correct.
open part and get a straighter line that way.
Right.
Straighter cut.
Now, what's very important for me is to use the right kind of paper, because construction paper is too thick, origami paper is too thin. I found something that works very well, and it's called fadeless art paper. It approximates the paper that has been used in Poland. The paper that has been used in Poland is really from the Netherlands. Slightly glossy, very thin. A very important paper, again, I'm going to mention that the paper I like to use is the fadeless art paper because it has the bold, vibrant colors that are necessary for this kind of thing. Now, to get a decorated edge along these are my strips of paper. Now, I said this is not exact. Now, why did I say it was not exact? Because when I fold this, you can see that they're not quite the same width. So my trick is to use graph paper Now, I have two of these. I'm putting the graph paper on top. And in this way, I can make very, very precise cuts to create this decoration. Little triangles are cut out. So if I hold this.
So one side of the paper, you're going to be cutting in triangles.
Correct. So I do every second line.
On the graph paper. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I'm holding 3 layers together. Now if you're, again, you're opening the scissors as wide as possible. You notice I'm using a big pair of scissors, not a small pair of scissors. So I'm cutting from one side then the other. So cut from one side.
Because the temptation would probably be to get a small pair of scissors and snip, snip, snip.
And I think you have better control when you have a larger pair of scissors. So I'm cutting from one side then the other. So again, cut from one side, take the scissors away, and cut again. And if that little piece does not come out, what I do is, instead of, the temptation is to put the scissors down and try and pull this out. But you'll get a little bit of a tear. So I will cut again and see if that meets, and then it comes out. So you really, when you say cut out, that is the style of the cutting. So I continue all the way to the length of this strip, and this is what I end up with. 2 of these that are similar. And already I can begin gluing on my egg, so I take a little bit of glue. I can use any kind of a surface to put a little bit of glue here. I would like to have 2 of these strips glued very precisely on the egg. one on this side and one on the other side. Okay, so here I'm using my pinky finger. I'm a right-handed person, so I'm holding the egg with my left hand and writing with the right hand and steadying my hand by placing it on the egg.
It's almost as if you're using your finger and the pencil as a compass.
That's true.
I do that a lot of times with the pisanki tradition. Your pinky kind of steadies your hand that way, and you get a straighter line. If you're just holding it up in the air, the pencil that isn't drawing. So it's a good technique.
And here I like to use this technique of using a toothpick and just small amounts of glue, and then putting small amounts of glue here on this strip of paper. The alternative would be to have a very fine bit of glue coming out of your glue bottle, and if you can do this very quickly, this can also work. Preferably little dots. And on each one of these tabs.
My tendency would be all of a sudden they would all come out at once. So that use of that extra toothpick there is really helpful. Very, very helpful.
Okay. Now the thing about the surface of an egg, it's curved. So when you have a piece of paper that is very small or it has many tooth-shaped designs in it, you can mold it to the surface of the egg. Okay, this takes a little bit of time to do carefully. When you get to the end, you have an overlapping. And you would have to take time to readjust it before your glue dries. So this does take quite a bit of time to be very careful. I might want to do it this way also. Put a bead of glue on the egg as an extra. This was the seam from the other strip of paper, so I'll use that here also in the same place. And again, there's an overlap. I'll trim that.
It's neat how you say that the paper almost takes the form of the egg. It's not that much of a difficult challenge in that sense. Forms to the egg because of the cuts in it and everything.
This is going to be a central strip. If you notice, there's a strip of green paper here. It's a stem. So again, I'm going to find the seam from this egg, and I'm going to start this one here at the seam end.
Bring that all around and then place the flowers on top.
That's right.
And therefore it's straight.
So I'm placing this in the center between those two strips of blue that I've already decorated. And again, the overlap is all going to be on this one side of the egg. I trim that. Don't worry too much about what this looks like right now. Now to make a flower, here's one, but I'm going to make 4 at the same time. And to make a round circle for the flower, I could use a compass, or even easier, I could just use some coins.
That's one of the characteristics of a ritual folk art, is use what you have at hand. You don't have to go shopping for all the tools. You got the coins right there.
You have everything at home that you need already. So I'll use a penny, and I'll choose the color red. And to make 4 at the same time, I have 4 layers of paper now. Trace around your penny. And holding these all together, remember, open the scissors wide and cut around on that pencil line. You know what you could do? You could go to the store and buy a little gadget that creates perfect circles. But I didn't do that. I'm doing it by hand, the old-fashioned way. It's not perfect, but it's good. It's really very nice. I'm cutting towards the center to create the petals of the flower. And this is going to look handmade.
That's the difference between something that's cut out in the sense of from a particular form and something that's handmade. It does look natural.
It has a different look to it.
That's part of the whole process of transforming something out of just a piece of paper.
It's going to be unique. So now I have 4 of exactly the same kind of flower. And how would I get these smaller circles? Well, I'll give you a few shortcuts. One of them is to use a hole punch. Okay, so I am helping myself a little bit. Let's say I would use pink. First, I cut approximately the size of paper that I need. Fold this so I have 4 layers. Use the hole punch, and I've made very quickly 4 little circles. And the trick that I like to use is this. Again, cut a piece of paper that is approximately the right size, and then using my little bit of glue on the end of a stick, I'm going to take one of these little tiny circles and glue it onto my background. And I'm going to cut around this circle as evenly as possible.
So you use the hole punch pink circled as a guide to make another circle.
Mm-hmm. It's just one method that I was using, so I have 3 layers for this flower. Well, I could finish that and have 4 of these flowers that are all alike, but I'm going to very quickly show you how I'm going to finish this particular egg here with the blue, or I could use alternate blue and red. I'll put some glue on the back of this. Every once in a while you'll find that the glue gets on your fingers, so it is good to wash your hands occasionally. I'll find out where that seam is. I can put one flower right on top of that seam. And press down carefully.
Is this another blue flower?
So I can take this, use my toothpick as a guide for setting this next flower. Now you can estimate, look from the top or from the bottom, and place this next flower very carefully on the egg.
Here's another good example is how when you have the slits in the paper there, how it takes the form of the egg. The paper forms to the egg.
Exactly. You can't take a large flat piece of paper and try gluing it to the egg. You would have to make some indentations or some using a design. I think I need to have some leaves, so I can do that very quickly by taking a sheet of paper, folding it so I have 4 layers, and then folding it one more time. And along this edge I could create a lot of those leaf shapes. This is the folded edge here, and I would be cutting from the folded edge like this, and then again like that. And so I have 4 leaves.
Four symmetrically identical leaves because they were folded.
So this is the simplest leaf shape that you could use in between the flowers.
You can see how easy it is just to choose another color paper, and you have a completely different egg. And here you've transformed a simple egg and simple pieces of paper into a thing of beauty. And these exquisite presentations here, very simple paper, is just really something. Just so our viewers know, what type of glue is the best to use?
You could use something as simple as Elmer's glue or a Sobo glue. A white glue that dries clear is the most important. And if it's a little bit flexible, that'll help too. You don't want it to dry too quickly, but you don't want to wait 10 minutes for it to set either. So, like I say, the Elmer's or the Sobo glue work just fine.
Now these little eggs have transformed into 2 completely different types of examples of spring rebirth. What's your connection with making these particular form of egg cutouts?
Do you know when I was 4 years old, that's the first time that I realized that you can take super simple things like little pieces of paper, eggshells, and ribbons and make them into things that are very beautiful. I was just 4 years old, and it was my aunt, Eleonora, who was bringing these things for her visit for the holidays, and she was making these beautiful, beautiful little, you could call them toys or little decorations. So like I say, I was just transfixed by that idea that you can just make something very, very beautiful with very simple things.
With things you have more or less at home.
Right.
Glue,
Exactly.
Scissors, paper, eggs. Well, thanks for sharing with everyone and all our viewers this another transforming experience out of very simple things, and particularly in this place, showing us the floral expression of the Polish Easter. Dziękuję bardzo, Basia. All the best.
Well, thank you very much for having me.